Recalculating Route, a show about taking a new direction with your life. Here's your host, Christy Atwood.
You found your way to Recalculating Route, and we are so glad because we didn't know if we were going to find our way here. What we have is we have the comment section. I will actually try to look at it on my phone. If anybody has comments, please join in our conversation because our topic is lessons learned from the 12 longest months. We have been through heck in a handbasket. Pardon my French, okay? This has been ugly, and I will share that. Actually, I'll just do this. Hold on a second here. I'll do that as a separate slide so people can see that while we're talking. Let's see if that works. So they'll know what the topic is for the first few minutes here. We have been through, wow, what kind of year has this been? And right now, we have now hit exactly a year, and we wanted to kind of have an opportunity to give a eulogy to the suckiest year in history. So if I'm going to put it honestly, that's pretty much what we're doing here, okay? We're saying bye-bye, not goodbye, but bye-bye, it's over. And so what I wanted for this was to have the most positive people in the world that I know who could be on this. And so that's why I have them. They have taken time from what they do, because they are busy all the time. They host their own show. They have all their own stuff going on, but they have lowered themselves to be with me today and help us say goodbye to 2020 and all of the stuff. So my guests today, Nathan Barnaba and Kymberlie Broussard, and two more positive people you will not run into. And I'm so glad y'all have joined me here today. Okay, we're just going to be all over the place today because we're just going to try to have some fun with this. I'm going to say, first of all, it's really funny because I think about this. Last year at this time, we'd had the first few weeks of this whole thing, and I was still thinking, when I heard Corona, I was still thinking of beer. It was not in my head, and so we were still thinking, well, look at this. It might even go into a second month. And here we are. I want to know from y'all, can you remember what it was like last year at this time? Can you remember what you were thinking? What was in your mind? Mm-hmm. Okay, Kim, tell me.
I know that I was like you. I was like, oh, it's going to be over in a couple of weeks. We'll be fine. And then there was no more toilet paper. And that's when it got real. When I saw there was no toilet paper, I knew this was not a good sign. And so I went into extreme panic mode. I called my dad. I was like, I'm not prepared. Oh my gosh, there's no toilet paper. There's no food. I went into extreme panic mode, anxiety attack. And so after my dad, talked me, down, I was like, this is more serious than I thought. This is more serious than I thought.
Yeah, right.
I agree.
It took toilet paper, though. Okay, Nathan, what about you?
I agree. At first, we got the notices at work and things, and I was so happy to work from home. Like, I was thinking about how fun it was going to be and just being in my own little world. And then I went to the grocery store and all the shelves were empty. So I just grabbed everything that I could, like tuna and I still have cans of stuff like pancake mix, things that I would never use, but I grabbed it because I was so scared.
Is that amazing? But that's kind of the way our minds went. It's like, okay, grab onto something that seems normal. So here's my box of pancake mix. I don't make pancakes. I only go to IHOP, but I will get this box, So yes, there was that scarcity mentality that we dealt with at that point. So, okay, so it went on a little bit longer. And you start realizing, wait, this is not ending in a month like I thought. It is not ending in 6 weeks like I thought. So as time went on, we started finding that we were actually having to search for positive things. We were having to search for little sparks of inspiration during that time because we know this has been a dark time for us. Can you tell me some of the things you learned to appreciate during this time?
Me, I try to think about, I have like a gratitude journal and things that I did before the pandemic. And it was very hard for me to find things to appreciate whenever you can't do anything. It's locked down. You can't really see your family. So I had to really learn how to appreciate the smallest things. So being alive, breathing, um, having a home, a job, like it was the smallest things that you don't think to appreciate that I had to appreciate.
Well, you don't take things for granted anymore, do you?
No,
No.
I mean,
not at all.
and with the job thing, it's like, oh,
Mhm.
thank God, because you
Yes.
knew so many of your friends didn't. And there was
Mhm.
almost a little guilt attached to that because we still had a job or something like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, uh-huh. So, okay. Kim, what did you start, to realizing that you needed to appreciate that was,
I started to appreciate being outside. I started to work outside on my patio, and it was amazing how many birds and animals that I would see, and just taking walks. I really, during what I learned during this horrific time, was that exercise is so vital in treating your anxiety, treating depression, just for your overall mental health. And, I would take walks, and I stopped. I'm going to be honest, I stopped doing it, and I noticed a difference in my mental health. And so I started to
Mhm.
walk again.
good for
So,
you?
just taking a walk, enjoying hearing nature, listening to owls and birds. And it's just,
Yeah.
beautiful day. Like Nathan said, breathing, being
Yeah.
alive, our jobs.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of all that exercise stuff, let's turn accusatory eyes towards Nathan at this time. You rat think he's the only person I know who went into pandemic and comes out looking better than when he went in. It ain't right, Nathan. It ain't right. Okay. Tell
It
us.
took a lot of work. What I realized was from March to May. At the beginning, I was the person who was getting the big bottles of vodka and finishing them like in a week, and just living my best life, drinking and having a good time, like trying to process that emotion. But
Yeah.
what I realized, I think it was for my birthday. I realized that I still wasn't happy, so I needed to make a change. So gyms had opened up, so I joined the gym, and I kind of did like background work on my own emotions, like why I felt the way I felt, and kind of analyze these things. And I want to mention this because I know a lot of people probably feel that way. I kind of felt alone at times. And
Mm.
I kind of came to the realization that some people feel like, oh, this person didn't reach out to me. They don't care about me. But you have to understand that we're in a pandemic, and that person has their own emotions to deal with as well. So maybe you could reach out, and it has nothing to do with you. It's just that everyone processes things emotionally and differently. So that's what I had to realize, was that, all of my relationships are the same. Like it's just that you have to reach out as well. Nobody knows what's going to happen.
I think that is so fantastic. The fact that you're able to put yourself in their shoes and think that way, because
Mhm.
honestly, yes, we get caught in our own little worlds and we're
Yeah.
sitting here thinking, nobody else is paying attention to me.
Yeah.
Well, they're out there doing the same thing. And it's really easy to kind of lose
Yeah.
perspective on those things. So real good point on that. And yeah, we worried about those relationships. At the same time, we were drawing back into ourselves even more. So we
Yeah.
probably weren't the best people to be around sometimes,
I agree.
I
Uh-huh.
mean, this is true. And like Nathan said, everyone processes stress or anxiety differently. And so I'm glad that you said that, because it's important for us to be mindful of that. Because that was a stressful time. I mean,
Uh-huh.
it still is.
Yeah.
So
Right. And I heard of so many people who got angry. And I'm glad he mentioned that too, because I heard people who got angry. They're like, so-and-so didn't reach out to me. Well, that goes two ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can't be judging like that.
And that's a conversation I had with myself. I was like, we're in a pandemic. Like, who's going to talk to you? Like, we're all going through it. And once I realized that, I started to be more empathetic towards people. And I just try to maybe relate more.
It's kind of funny because I started thinking about it. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I was like, oh my gosh, I am so blessed that I'm not alone, because I know some people who are alone in their houses, and I thought, oh, that's so horrible. But as the pandemic went on, I started thinking, oh God, I wish I was alone. We have to accept the fact that we all have different, needs at different times. And that doesn't say anything bad about anybody in our households, honey, dear, darling. So it doesn't say anything, but we do realize sometimes that, yeah, as much as we need people, sometimes we also need time alone. So we're learning a whole lot more about ourselves, it seems to me.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Okay. Okay. Just thinking about some of the things that we've gone through. Can you think of some of the things that you really learned to appreciate a whole lot? I'll tell you one, eating out. Oh my gosh. I want somebody to wait on me so badly. So I miss that so much. I have a feeling I'm going to be over tipping for the next year. But what are some of the things that you really saw that, oh my gosh, this really is important?
Travel.
Oh.
Getting away, using my time from work to travel and go places. Like I never, I told myself that I was saving my time. So as soon as the world opens back up, I'm going traveling, because that is something that I miss tremendously.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I didn't know how much I'd miss it, but yeah, you too, Kim?
Well, one thing that I notice is family, spending time with family. I'm really close with my family. And so at the beginning of the pandemic, it was really hard, because we couldn't gather. And I'm blessed with both my grandparents and my grandmother on my dad's side. And so it was definitely hard not to have those family gatherings. And so, my grandmother, she learned how to use Google Duo just so we can try and she would be able to see us, and we would have, my whole family would get on it and we would communicate that way.
That's awesome. Now there's something good that has come out of this horrible time, is that we have learned to really connect across the airwaves like this. It's not just that little, phone call or something like that. We're actually able to sit and have real conversations with family electronically. And I think that's something that would not have happened. Not in our lifetime.
I mean, kudos to all of us for still trying to find creative ways to stay connected. We learned something new. We learned a new computer system or a new app, or we learned something new just so that we could all stay connected. So kudos to us.
That's a good one, because I mean, really, we have moved ahead technology-wise by light years compared to where we were. A year ago, I could not imagine us just sitting around having a talk like this. And being able to broadcast it to people on Facebook, whether they want to see it or not. Hi, y'all on Facebook. Hi, Linda. So that's kind of amazing. We've learned new methods of communication, and that's kind of cool, because now with Nathan, Kim, you see if you agree with me on this. His communication skills have so blossomed during this time. Y'all have to understand, Nathan was a very quiet person. We'd hear 2 words from him, and it was like, that's good, and he has just blossomed during this time and made this new medium his own. Nathan, that's been pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, what happened was I realized that I liked being around people. I'm an introvert, but I liked being around my work team or my coworkers. Kim, I sat next to Kim, so it was just like being close to people. And I realized that I was missing that. So I started to embrace technology and embrace talking to people, because I guess I'm not as introverted as I thought. I like human connection, reaching out to my family and, go and visit them. It made me realize that I like people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like I came to the conclusion that I actually like people. I just have to be in the mood.
That's okay. There you go. Selectively. That's a good realization to make. Hey, what a growth you've had during this year. And Kim, you've always liked people.
well, actually, I think Nathan and I switched roles. I think now I'm more of an introvert now, I don't mind being by myself and, in my own space. And I think that's something that I learned. And I think that it was an opportunity for, a lot of people to figure themselves out or learned about themselves, because I learned, you know what? I want to put this mask on so nobody will recognize me and I don't have to say hi. And so I would put my mask on, walk with my head down, and sometimes I would get, "Oh, Kim, is that you?" So I told my dad, maybe my mask needs to get up a little bit higher, like underneath.
And sunglasses with it.
Yeah, and sunglasses. But
is that person really in their mask? Are they robbing the store?
Right. Yeah. So that's something that I learned about myself, is that and before the pandemic, you couldn't catch me by myself. But now I'm like, company.
This is interesting, Okay, let's think about the other side of this. Okay, so like now we're starting to get towards the point, of course I said that a year ago, but we might be getting towards the point where we're back into workplaces. How do you feel about that? Do you feel what's going to prepare you? Just any thoughts about returning to the workplace?
I mean, you said return to the workplace and my heart just sank in my stomach. They're like, what? But it is going to happen. And although I'm like Nathan, I do miss people. I do find myself, especially if I'm in somewhere where a large crowd, I find myself having anxiety and I wanting to leave. And so I just couldn't imagine in an enclosed space with people. So it's going to take a little bit of adjustment for me. And maybe my extrovert will come back out. My introvert will go back inside. But, I mean, it's change. We know it's going to happen. I'm just glad that I'm trying to mentally prepare myself so that it's not, I'm not thrown into it and like,
oh, you'll do that anyway. Come on.
I'll probably do that anyway. Nathan will come in my queue and be like, what? So it's just taking getting used to having other people in my space when I was a habitual space popper, bubble popper.
Yeah, you were always going into other places. Yeah. You too, Nathan?
Well, I want to know the outcome because, I'm a people's person now and being in the technology world. But when I go back into the office, I'm excited to see everyone again and make those connections because working from home, some connections got stronger, some weakened. So I'm excited to reconnect with people for now and see how that goes. And then I just want to see if it'll continue, if I'm still going to be an attention person or if I'm going to go. I'm gonna try not to, but if I'm gonna go back to my little bubble and my little corner and stay there, like I'm really optimistic. I want to see how it's gonna go.
I love that. Just make sure if you turn back to your introvert self, we get more than 2 words this time. Now you'll give us 5.
I'll give you 3. 3.
Oh, 3? 5 is ambitious.
Hey, baby steps. Baby steps, we're saying. Okay. Now the question of, okay. It is years and years down the road. We're much older, and we're talking to people who did not live through this period of history. Lucky son of a guns. Did not go through this time. How would you describe what the world has been like in this year, this pandemic year?
I think I would turn Sophia Petrillo on them, and I'd be like, picture it. Louisiana. 2020. A city with no toilet paper, scarce on food, emotions high. It was a dark time for everyone. No hugs, no family gatherings, living on pancakes and tuna. I might stretch the truth just a little. I survived.
This is how our parents started with that walking 10 miles to school, uphill both ways. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Nathan, how would you describe it to somebody? What would you stand out in your mind?
I would tell them that it was a simple time. You had to learn how to appreciate the smallest of things. It got to the point where you had to look like look a lot for things to be grateful for. It was just that much. Like it's families aren't seeing each other, connection, Zoom, you have to learn new software. It's just a lot to process. I'm
Mhm.
getting emotional thinking about it. Like years from now, I do not want to tell this story because it was a lot.
Yeah.
No.
It's a lot.
I mean, yeah, we learned some real important things this year. And of course, among those was how to sneeze into your elbow and how to, hug people with your elbow, things like that. And how to wash your hands until they bled. All these useful skills for the future. But we also learned a heck of a lot about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And dadgummit, if we can make it through this, we are stronger than we ever realized.
Yeah.
And I just think that's kind of amazing.
Christy, just right quick, I saw a video the other day, and it was just a little video that someone had created, and the kid was going through the mom's closet and found a box of masks. And she says, "Mommy, what is this?" And it was the future. She said, "Mommy, what is this?" And the mom looks at the mask and she starts to cry. I think that's how.
That's probably how we'll be.
Yeah,
I can
I
think.
agree.
Let's see what Lori says. Appreciating the small, simple things. I love it. What a wonderful way to look at the past year.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that, a hug. Oh my God. I have never appreciated the concept of a hug as much as I do now. And I cannot wait to get back to my little ladies at the nursing home and be able to just squeeze the stuffing out of them. I really want that again. And I don't think we realized how much that means to us.
Right.
God.
You might have to ease into it, Christy. If
Yeah,
we go back to work,
we come
back to work, don't come close. I'm gonna be like, hold on, hold on.
I know. I'm gonna
All
be
right,
banned from the
girl.
nursing
I'm
home.
glad to see you too.
Yeah, that ain't gonna be pretty. It ain't gonna be. But yeah, it's just and then of course relearning social skills. Like
Mm-hmm.
A friend and I were talking earlier today about learning not to fart in public. You can do that at home. You can't do that out there. We got to remember these things.
One of the things that I have to remember, I have to get used to it, is put it on regular pants and not the pajama pants.
Oh
That's
my
going to be the
God.
hardest transition for me, is to wear regular pants.
And fit into them.
And fit into
God.
them. We aren't all lucky like Nathan, who has to buy a new wardrobe smaller when it started.
Have we mentioned we don't like Nathan anymore?
Right.
No, see, the goal was for me to fit my work clothes again because I grew out of them, so I could fit them now.
Okay, that's good.
I like
Tim
it.
brought up a good point, because something I have to be mindful of now is that when masks are gone, I'm gonna have to watch my face. Because under my mask, I mummer stuff. I curse people out under my mask. So I have to be mindful of that.
Yes. Yes. It was funny because I went through the grocery store and I was talking to myself like I always do. But it was so nice because they didn't know it was me. And now when I get back to being without a mask, they're going to know that crazy lady's talking to herself again. This is going to be a problem. Oh, gosh. I gotta relearn a lot of social skills.
Mm-hmm.
Don't we all?
Mm-hmm. Things that you would like to share as some of the things that you have learned, besides the silly stuff we're talking about, some of the lessons that you've learned in your life over the past year. I think really, and Nathan mentioned it earlier, was that whole thing of waking up and saying, oh, thank God, I'm here for another day, and I don't have as many problems as a lot of people. Maybe I have a few more than some, but I am making it, and just being able to, honestly, this is terrible, but I have been very thankful for Facebook and social media during this, because that has been a way to connect with people when I was so totally removed, and that has helped a lot. So that was something I was thankful for.
Something I definitely learned during this time is to have grace for yourself. Be kind to yourself. if you're experiencing anxiety, you're stressed, depression, it's okay for you to allow yourself to feel those feelings. Just don't stay in that place. The same thing that you would tell your friends if they were, feeling that type of way, you got this, you can do this, I'm proud of you, or whatever you tell them, make sure you tell that to yourself. Sometimes we're our own worst enemy. We're so hard on ourselves, and it's important for you to remember that you're your own friend. So be encouraging to yourself. Say, it's okay that I know you're anxious, but you got this. I know that you can do it, Kim. You are so strong. You tell her or yourself the same thing you would tell your friends.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
I do too, because I talk really mean to myself.
Me too,
I mean, I'm like, come on, snap out of it, girl, snap out of it. What's wrong with you? And if I wouldn't do that to my friend. So that's really good advice. Yeah.
That is. And going back to that whole talking to yourself and headspace, something that a skill that I developed was meditation. And there's an app right now called Balance, I think. And for the next year, it's free. But basically, if you meditate often, or if you're just starting, it gives you a plan to kind of get started with it. But what it does is it teaches you practices, and you'll realize that you start to feel better. So let's say you have negative self-talk. There's a meditation for that. There's breathing meditations. It just depends. And another thing that helped me was self-affirmations. So the I Am app, it's a $20 subscription for a year, but it's worth it because you can set a timer and just give yourself, tell yourself, repeat to yourself affirmations. And it works wonders because if you keep doing it, you start to believe it and you feel empowered. And mindset is very important during a pandemic because, you're kind of, if you think about it, some people like, a lot of people are alone. They feel alone or disconnected.
Yeah.
So your mindset is important to keep that up. Mental health is important.
I like the sound of those. So Balance and I Am are some apps we need to look into. I love apps. I am all about that. So that would be wonderful because the affirmations have always been hard for me because I feel fake. But maybe if I did it for a longer period of time like that, where I got past my resistance, it would start sinking in for me. I like that.
And the I Am app gives you practice. So like it goes from a minute to 5 minutes to 15 minutes. So if you're not comfortable with it, maybe do that minute for a few days and go up. But at first you will feel like, why am I telling myself this? But eventually you really do start to believe it. It's like like what Kim said, you're talking to your best friend. Like you're empowering yourself.
Why is it so hard for us to talk to us like our own best friend? That's
right.
That we're having to relearn how to do that. That's a shame. Remember when you were little, you believed you could do anything,
Yes.
If I put my Superman cape on, I was out of there. I could do it all. Yeah, I could fly until I broke something. And then we start putting all these layers and layers of learning on us where we say, oh, no, that's not realistic. And maybe we need to get back to the 5-year-old sometime.
And I like that, Christy, because I do feel that we all still have that 5-year-old in us, because that's the one that initiates and is like, hey, let's do this. And then our adult selves is like, you can't do this. You have to do this, 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 and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And you just start thinking about that, and we silence that 5-year-old self.
I think we need to say shut up to our adult self sometimes and play. I need to get my coloring books out again, and not the adult coloring books. I mean the Winnie the Pooh and the Peanuts ones. That's what I need.
And I think it's important for us, when you're saying those things to yourself, stop yourself and say, hey, would I tell this to my friend if she had that idea? What would I tell my friend if she came to me with that idea? And watch how much grace you're going to give your friend before you give yourself.
I like that concept.
I love that.
Give yourself grace. That's reasonable. I like it. Yeah, this is great. This is wonderful. Because I just, I know that the past 12 months has been hell. It has been the worst ever. The only thing that we can do that will make it bearable in our minds and for the future is if we get some lessons out of it, is if we get some sparks and some things that make us better people going forward. And the fact that we've learned to communicate in different ways, the fact that we've realized how important people are to us, and a hug and things like that, that's going to make us better people in the future, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that we should also understand that we're change warriors. I mean, look at all the change that we've been through, and we're still here. We're still all put together. Some of us might have less hair than we did before, but
or grayer.
But we made it through. And so if we can go through something this dramatic with change, or this horrible with change, then change, throw it at me. Like, we can conquer anything.
We got this.
Right.
And to piggyback off of what Kim said, going through change at the beginning of this to now, if you can go back in time, like, see now, going back to the beginning of the pandemic, what would you tell yourself? What would be the statement? I'll go first. I would tell myself that it's okay. Like, it's okay. It's going to be okay. You're going to live, and just take things day by day. Don't be anxious. Just give yourself grace. What Kim said, give yourself understanding, and just lean into it and embrace it.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah. It depends on when I can go back. If it was right before the pandemic, like the day before, then because in January, that's when my birthday is, and I took a trip, and we didn't do everything that we wanted to do, because I was like, well, I'll have the summer, and we can, really do it big on the summer. Womp womp. I didn't even get to travel during the summer. So the January me, I would say, live it up, girls. Spend it like it's your last.
It's raining money.
Go broke or go home. But the day before the pandemic, I would say that, you are brave. You are awesome. And you're going to get through this, and just stick close to your family and ride it out.
Good. Yeah, I think I'd be along the same lines as what y'all are saying. I think I'd also remind myself it's okay to cry. You got to work through all these emotions. It's just like the grieving process. We were grieving for the life we had before. And yeah, you got to go through that. And then, yes, we go through the denial and the anger. We saw that happening. Everybody was getting angry about everything that was happening. And that's just a natural part of the grieving process. And so now, as we get into these later stages and the acceptance and all of that, I think it's good for us to recognize what we've been through, and that we have been through that process, and now start letting ourselves see little bits of light. Little pinpricks of light, and realize that we're starting to get back to whatever our normal will be. It doesn't matter, because it's going to be even better, because we're stronger people than we were before. And so to anybody who has survived this period of time, and no matter how much of a mess you think you are inside, stop and give yourself a humongous hug, since nobody else can yet. But give yourself a huge hug and say, my God, you're stronger than I ever would have thought a year ago. Hey, come, you're like some sort of super person. And then the next time something comes up, you will be able to say, like y'all said, you'll be able to say, you got this, girl, or you got this, boy. You got no problem. So y'all, I cannot thank you enough. I knew, having the two most positive people I know be on this one with me, we would be able to get to some good from this horrible year. So if we were finishing up a eulogy right now, I would say, good riddance, you stupid year. And I don't ever want to see you again. Y'all want to say your goodbye to 2020? Oh, thank y'all so much for being a part of this today.
Thank you for having us.
Well, I'm going to drag y'all back a bunch. I'm sorry. Y'all can't get away. I just love having y'all on here, and y'all are positive to be around, and I appreciate that very much. So thank y'all for being a part of Recalculating Route today.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all. Bye, everybody out there.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Recalculating Route. Join us next Wednesday evening at 6 Central